What is going on with Renly's peach? It's something that has fascinated the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom for years. Let's take a look. Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to In Deep Geek. On this channel we cover A Song of Ice and Fire in depth, as well as The Lord of the Rings and The Witcher. Welcome. In many ways, Renly's peach is quite a small detail in A Song of Ice and Fire. It didn't make it into the TV show at all, and yet it has claimed an enduring role in the fandom's imagination. The situation is that Renly and Stannis have both declared themselves king and have a tense parley to prevent a war between them. Neither are backing down. It's just a matter of hours before Melisandre's shadow baby kills Renly. As the brothers face each other in talks, we read this from Catelyn Stark's POV. Renly's hand slid inside his cloak. Stannis saw and reached at once for the hilt of his sword, but before he could draw steel, his brother produced a peach. "Would you like one, brother?" Renly asked, smiling. "From Highgarden. You've never tasted anything so sweet, I promise you." He took a bite. Juice ran from the corner of his mouth. "I did not come here to eat fruit." Stannis was fuming. "My lords," Catelyn said, "we ought to be hammering out the terms of an alliance, not trading taunts." "A man should never refuse to taste a peach," Renly said as he tossed the stone away. "He may never get the chance again. Life is short, Stannis. Remember what the Starks say? Winter is coming." He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Renly proceeds to taunt Stannis a bit more before the talks break down. Pretty innocuous, you might think, but Stannis clearly doesn't think so. Later, when telling Davos what happened, he says this. "Renly offered me a peach. At our parley. Mocked me, defied me, threatened me, and offered me a peach. I thought he was drawing a blade and went for mine own. Was that his purpose, to make me show fear, or was it one of his pointless jests? When he spoke of how sweet the peach was, did his words have some hidden meaning?" The king gave a shake of his head, like a dog shaking a rabbit to snap its neck. "Only Renly could vex me so with a piece of fruit. He brought his doom upon himself with his treason. But I did love him, Davos. I know that now. I swear I will go to my grave thinking of my brother's peach." Which sounds a bit melodramatic for Stannis, but it doesn't seem to be an exaggeration. He thinks about that peach again and again, dreaming about it. Why me and not my brothers? Renly and his peach. In my dreams I see the juice running from his mouth, the blood from his throat. So what's going on? How important is Renly's peach? Well, I think the reason why this question has so intrigued readers for so long is because the answer operates on at least 3 different levels. First, what Renly meant by it. That was what infuriated Stannis, after all, trying to figure out what Renly meant by it. And at the risk of stating the obvious, that was why Renly did it, to infuriate Stannis, to get inside his mind, throw him off his stride in the negotiations, just when Renly admitted that Stannis had the better claim. As Stannis himself noted, only Renly could vex him so with a piece of fruit. Renly knew he could distract and confuse Stannis simply by eating a peach, and he enjoyed doing it. Second, the peach tells us about Renly's character compared to Stannis's. The peach represents indulgence and enjoying life, not just rations needed to survive, but pleasure in eating. Renly and Stannis's characters summarised in a moment. This is actually what George R.R. Martin emphasised when asked about the peach back in 2012. He said, "The peach represents, well, it's pleasure. It's tasting the juices of life. Stannis is a very martial man, concerned with his duty, and with that peach, Renly says, 'Smell the roses,' because Stannis is always concerned with his duty and honour in what he should be doing, and he never really stops to taste the fruit. Renly wants him to taste the fruit, but it's lost." I wish that scene had been included in the TV series, because for me, that peach was important, but it wasn't possible. Incidentally, George R.R. Martin uses peaches in this way quite a few times in A Song of Ice and Fire. A peach is often given to someone or eaten or used in the name of a pleasure house to represent simple indulgence and enjoyment of life. You can, of course, draw other symbolism from the peach, much of it sexual, but I think the third important thing going on here is simply the fact that Stannis doesn't understand. He overthinks it. Was Renly trying to scare him? Send him a coded message? Was it a joke? The idea that this might have just been Renly eating a peach because he enjoyed eating peaches never really crossed his mind, which tells us so much about who Stannis is and the limitations of his character. He is vexed by the peach and can't let it go. He thinks that he will go to the grave thinking of that peach. He can't break free from his mode of thinking ever. All of which, I think, is enough to explain that peach. But there is one other thing that it tells us about Stannis' character: how much he loved his family. Family is the one thing that can make him break this intransigent shell. Who should he have supported years earlier when his brother rebelled against the King of the Seven Kingdoms? Stannis chose family over fealty. Who was the only person that could have distracted him in the midst of an important parley with a piece of fruit? His other brother, Renly. So what happens when Melisandre wants to use one of his brother's bastard children as a sacrifice? He prevaricates for quite some time. What will happen if or when she demands Shireen? It all happens so easily and quickly on the TV show, but I suspect that won't be the case in the books. So that's why George R.R. Martin said that he considered Renly's peach to be important, because he used it in that scene, as many great writers do, to reveal characters' personalities and drives. In-world, Renly used that peach to throw Stannis' mind off the negotiations and his admission that Stannis had a better claim to the throne than he did, but it also showed us Renly's character, focused on living in the moment and pleasure, not bogged down in duty and responsibility. And in contrast, of course, we see Stannis focused on duty and responsibility, and unable to understand how this could be outshone by the pleasure of eating a simple peach. But we also see love. Stannis, after this, realises that he loved Renly. And Renly in that moment seems to have simply wanted Stannis to enjoy eating a peach, despite all that lay between them. The two brothers were hugely different characters. That peach was a symbol of it all. But it also shows how neither ever really wanted a war against their brother, because they loved each other. They were just so far apart and so set on their own different ways that parley was doomed to failure before it even began. If you'd like to see more A Song of Ice and Fire videos, there's a link appearing now on the left of your screen. Or to support this channel, thank you. There's a link to my Patreon page on the right of your screen. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.